All right, all right, all right. Hey, hey, hey. Yes, remember I say around 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time, okay? So we're here. This is a huge level up in the spiritual awakening, and God said I got to bring it to y'all because it was just like one of those parts of purging the subconscious that we've got to do, because I'm sitting here going, hold on a second, as we're going through the detoxing from the radio frequency poisoning and things like that. And then I'm paying attention to, yes, God told me to get my earrings and my choker back. He said, honey child, he said, we're using cognitive dissonance to our advantage. All right, y'all. So there you go. For anyone who might be questioning that, it's part of our style. So now the autonomic nervous system, I learned about it more specifically in my trauma training with the Arizona Trauma Institute. Okay, so that's where a lot of it is stemming from. But now we're reaching into the spiritual. Yeah, that autonomic nervous system, it don't know the spiritual. Okay, yeah, it don't know that. And I was like, okay, why our body responds to certain stimuli the way that it does. It's based on our thoughts. Oh, yeah, it's based on our thoughts because thoughts are spiritual power. That's right. The enemy knows this. We are in a spiritual battle for the mind, right? So while those notifications continue to go on out, all right, everybody, and I'm going to say that I would pray that y'all Wi-Fi hold. Okay. Um, yeah, I'm still processing a lot of this myself, but we got to have this discussion. Got to have this discussion because so yeah, because the one thing we start to learn as we become more aware. Remember, it's all about that heightened awareness. Because the more awareness we get, okay, the more aware we are, the more we're going to notice. And so that's what's happening. All right, everybody, that's what's happening in the spiritual awakening. As we are, yes, okay. It's not that we ever got out of balance. I know the enemy when that Jezebel did the physical thingy, right? Okay, I know. I'm already aware, too aware of what's going on, and not only in the spiritual but in the physical. So basically, it's just a realignment of sorts, if you will, because we never lost our balance, not in the spiritual nor in the physical. Although the enemy tried to knock us off balance in the physical, but as you can see, God's flipping it for His glory, as God always does. And He said, "Honey, child, I want you to pay attention because this go round of detoxing, yeah, it's bringing a lot more information about how our autonomic nervous system is. Oh, it's not just the target of the enemy, but it is. Oh my gosh, yeah. We don't have to tell it what to do per se as a response to certain stimuli like fear. Right? We know there's a lot of common fear responses. And so the autonomic nervous system is going to operate based on not just memory, but our thoughts that are formed in the subconscious. I want y'all to think about a computer for a moment. Think about a circuit board, right? And then how you have programs that run in the background on your computer. All right, so let's get these formalities out of the way. Hey, everybody, I see y'all coming on in. All right, so let's get these formalities out of the way real quick, and we will continue on with the message. I want y'all to think about that computer analogy, okay? Because this is going to help make it make sense, because this is how God did it for me. And I have another thing about the detox, because there's an air pocket, and it's acting as a median between the two sides of the body, as a right, exactly. It's keeping the circulation divided. Okay. And so we're going to get into all of this. God revealed that to me on my walk. He said, well, take a look at that median. Think of that air pocket as that. Oh. So because the circulation is still happening, but it's just being divided. It's not supposed to be. For proper elimination of the toxin. Oh man, y'all, this is a huge revelation day. I'm joyful to bring it to y'all. I am Michelle Dickey, your host for CHA's Truth Seeker podcast, streaming on the YouTube channel, Narcissism and Cognitive Dissonance, where trauma healing and spiritual growth are front and center while combating radium frequency poisoning for healthier living. Trauma healing and spiritual growth occur with God's wisdom, basic scientific facts, tried and true technique, and more. Here and at CHA Academy, btbw.com. The link to the Academy is in the description below. Some of you may need to copy and paste the link to view what CHA Academy, btbw.com offers to help you level up your trauma healing and spiritual growth. All right, everybody. So let's dive into it. Okay, you're thinking about that computer analogy or smartphone, anything that you know has a circuit board, like an electrical grid, if you will. Okay, think about that. That's what our nervous system pretty much is. It is our electrical system. The nervous system, yeah. Okay, the central nervous system and the autonomic nervous system. Okay, because everything. Okay, that is our electrical grid, our electrical system. Okay, that is what it is. And we have what? Well, why else do we need to replenish electrolytes after we work out? Think. That's not a coincidence. So that the circuit board, because see, listen, you got pros and cons, right? You got the good and the bad. It's just about everything. So think about technocracy. For those who don't know what that is, I highly encourage y'all to look it up. I did write an article. I did not think it was going to get published, but it did. During a season of my life where I was talking about inside the mind of a technocrat. And it is cognitive dissonance and narcissism on steroids. You'll find that on the website as well under, BTBW Magazine, my book / publication. Okay, you'll scroll on down, okay, and you'll see the link to that article. So anyhow, inside of the world of technocracy, okay, they view humans as circuit boards. Remember, narcissists view us as objects, but no different with the narcs that are involved in the world of technocracy, okay? They're there too. You got the good guys and the bad guys in all areas of life, okay? So we talk about the narcissism side of it, okay? Because they view humans as objects. So they view us as a circuit board, right? Because our nervous systems, if you will, they are. Okay? So this is why the autonomic nervous system is targeted, right? Well, we know it because it is not protected by organ, bone, tissue, and stuff, right? We know that. Now we do. For those who didn't, now you do. And it is in the spiritual, it is controlled by our thoughts that are formed in the subconscious. We have to become aware of that somehow, right? So in order for that to happen, God had to awaken his chosen ones up at his appointed time. And so as I continue to go through this detox with y'all, for those who have joined us on the radio frequency detox journey, welcome, and patience. Because when I bring y'all this, it will help you purge that subconscious. This is another level of awareness. The enemy, the enemy knows these things too. That's why he pulled the little head games and things like that he tries to pull. And by the way, y'all, I caught them. If I catch anybody using cognitive dissonance as a weapon of deception, you're going to get blocked. Because we catch these things. So we come in the comments trying to be all genuine, right? Just want to say thank you. Okay, well, you're welcome. No problem. So then they themselves go and delete the comments and then make a comment on another video And so I respond, and then they turn around and say, as I've told you before, I don't like to leave comments, but we'll likely delete this one too, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, that's narcissistic abuse, knock it off. Right? That's cognitive dissonance. That's not from God. God is not the author of confusion. So I caught on to that. I was like, if you don't like leaving comments, don't leave them. Don't be playing games, because we're going to call you out. So there you go. Yes. Okay. That's funny that you're making your portobello mushroom soup, because I just finished up a new batch myself, but I used black beans this time and some green pepper. Switching things up a little bit. But yeah, see, that's what we can do. So yeah, I use black beans, dried black beans. I soaked them overnight. And then, yeah, so it's so cool. It's good to have that natural source of vitamin D on hand, right? There you go. All right. Yes, thank you. Yeah, I had a set prior to thinking that, wait a minute, is this some sort of, all it means is balance in its simplicity, harmony and balance. What's wrong with that? Okay. Anywho, I know it's associated with whatever. God told me, honey child, do you. Okay, so yes, bioelectric effect can heal, so wouldn't be surprised if the enemy knows this and wants to block and prevent. Okay, remember, the enemy, the devil, does not want people to heal. So I came across a thing on TikTok where there's been like a fifth element called ether, and I'm going to do some more research. Something about magnetism, another word, magnetism, I get it. But we know that some of these metal molecules with radio frequency poisoning act as a magnet for, that's right, for more toxins. And there's this one called graphite, I believe I learned about down in the rabbit hole. Yes, and so those things are when they get inside the body, it's not a good thing. But yeah, the body wants to get rid of it. And so what the enemy does is he targets the areas of the body that are responsible for elimination. So one thing I've come to learn about, and y'all are now too, with the nervous system, okay, the autonomic nervous system, you've got the sympathetic and the parasympathetic, right? Okay, well, your sympathetic nervous system is responsible for normal sweating, because that does what? Exactly. It helps to get out excess toxins. Well, salt is one. Okay, it helps to get rid of that. And then also, through your urinary system and your bowels. Okay, that's how your body is going to eliminate. Now, excessive heat, again, through the top of the head and the bottom of the feet. So when you put all of this together as part of the healing from radio frequency poisoning, it doesn't surprise us when we make the connection between higher frequency being associated with the autonomic nervous system got conditioned to associate higher frequency and lower frequency, okay, right, with some sort of a threat. And so that way, certain muscles on the backside, right, higher frequency, the top of the tailbone area tenses up. I'm telling y'all this because I'm aware of when it was doing that. Okay? This is from experience, because I'm on this journey with y'all. And it's part of that awareness, because there's no reason for it to be responding that way to anything at this particular season and ever, really, because we know that 1 John 4:18, perfect love casteth out all fear. So the enemy had to do what he had to do to my physical body, as so to give off the appearance of living in fear. Because I'm telling y'all, the devil is nothing to be afraid of. These narcissists out here, okay, and they'll fall over. I kid you not, all right? Are not anything to be afraid of. The righteous are bold as a lion. And so this is what we're doing, bring y'all these truths, spiritual truth, right, to help you on your journey as you start to notice these things that you're going to. And so this to help you unravel, oh, this is what's going on, because for years, okay, we didn't know that our autonomic nervous system was being conditioned both externally and internally. Ding, 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 ding. Okay, on the internals with our thoughts. Externally with all the radio frequency, okay, that's out there, all the noises, right? Things that make, high frequencies and low frequency. The autonomic nervous system, as of January 2024, so far has zero response to the alto level, okay, to the mid level. And I will tell you why. Right. I mean, it'll relax. Yes, that would be a response. But what I'm saying is it's not conditioned, okay, for frequencies in that level. So that's why when you hear some of us sing who are alto, it is relaxing, refreshing, nice to hear, and things like that. But it doesn't really do any massive stimulation, if you will. Okay? It's the highs and the lows. Remember that. Because this is why narcissists will view the color gray as blue, because the color gray is what? Neutral, means balanced. Okay? So in the middle frequency, okay, that's right. They could be very soothing and healing too. But the high frequencies and low frequencies, constant manipulation thereof. And yes, that thing went off 3 times this morning at 7:11 a.m. Eastern Time. I was mad. I was just waking up, and it went off, and I went, okay, interesting. So yes, I'm taking notes. Turn my apartment into a case study. All right, because I'm learning how the enemy does this. That's part of the autonomic nervous system conditioning. It didn't do anything to me because I'm aware. This is why I want to bring the awareness to y'all. Because the more aware we become, the less any of that stuff is not going to have the intended negative effect. Okay? I'll tell you that. Because the first time that it went off willy-nilly, it did. I felt the top of the tailbone go up. And I went, wait a minute. That's how I made that connection. Okay? So now when it goes off, it don't do that. Aware. Okay? And so that's right. It is just a graphic to illustrate the balance. Exactly. And so I'm going to come back to your comment. Take it out and put my own in. No, I'm using it as a case study. Oh, I put it in here. Have no idea that it was programmed to go off at certain times and certain days, especially right before the holidays. To disrupt sleep, to get people in a state of delirium, so they go out and they do what? They start buying on impulse. Oh yeah, I saw it. I was watching it play out in action. That one night that it did that willy-nilly on and off for a couple hours there in the evening, I was like, I was in bed. I just kept my ears closed. Because I already had a list to go and get some things that I needed anyhow. So I wasn't doing anything out of the norm, but boy, it was like a circus out there. Okay, because a lot of people are all sleep deprived and, oh my gosh, gotta get this, gotta get that, gotta get this for the whatever pagan tradition they're still celebrating. Right, so that's what that's for. And so I believe this morning was just part of another test run, maybe. I don't know. I think it's just part of it's part of the game on the world stage. Keep people's autonomic nervous system programmed, conditioned, because over time, the more aware we become, leads to the relaxation thereof. I want y'all to let that sink in. The more aware we become of our autonomic nervous system responses and function, the more relaxed we will be. Awareness equal relaxation. Because once you become aware of it, you know what to do about it, right? You find solution, right? You'll know, okay. And then we realize, oh, this is the other part of purging the subconscious. Be mindful what we think. Because at some point in the future, our autonomic nervous system is going to remember that thought and is going to associate it with something down the line in the future. So, for example, to help y'all put this in perspective, in the very beginning, I didn't know any of this, right? Of the physical healing journey, if you will. All right, so I'm bouncing back and forth between hotels. So I didn't really have time because I needed to get up here and continue getting y'all some content, going live, getting some videos out, keep the ministry rolling while I figure out what we're going to do, where we're going to live, what we're going to do, right? I mean, it's like I knew where we were going, but it's like trying to figure it all out, you know? So I had to work out that salvation. So I didn't really have time. But when I got in here and got more settled, now we're like, okay, because we're super focused on that healing, the physical side now. And part of it is the autonomic nervous system healing. It has to heal from that attack. Just like it has to heal from radio frequency poisoning. So we got a couple of things going on here. So for many of y'all, I pray that you're not also recovering from anything physical. Okay, like an attack. I pray that you're just going through the radio frequency detoxing. Okay? Because I got a couple things going on, but this is going to help you because this is part of detoxing from radio frequency poisoning. Is becoming more aware of what was affected by the radio frequency. You see, and it's the autonomic nervous system that gets triggered. See, before we become aware of it, it triggered us, right? We got triggered, right? Those external triggers by the narcissist. And so, okay. They're all external. Okay, every bit of those triggers, it's all external. Once that sinks in, we go, okay, because God on the inside of us, not doing that. So as we continue to purge our subconscious of worldly garbage, we start to realize that, okay, so that ANS, autonomic nervous system, it doesn't know that it's being controlled by our thoughts on the internal, but it does know it's responding to external stimuli, the frequencies. Let that sink in, because the physical body doesn't know the spiritual body, but the spiritual body being raised, the spiritual body is becoming more aware of the physical body. That's what's happening here. But the physical body, because God even said that the carnal mind is death, right? That's the physical. But spiritual mind is peace and life. So there you go. Thoughts are spiritual power. So you have a lot more power on the inside of you, chosen one, than the enemy would ever want you to discover. And this is a part of it. That when you sense, when you sense something sinister nearby, what would we usually do, right? Cringe, which does what? Tenses up the muscles. And so we know now that muscle tension does what? It prevents proper circulation. This brings me to the other part I mentioned in the beginning. I want to share it with y'all because it's part of the detoxing. Because a lot of us didn't know this. I know why there's an air pocket there. Because somebody tried, playing drums on the butt and the belly. All right, decided to play drums. Anyhow, aside from that, the air pocket from when I used to be. Okay, so my contribution is what we're going to focus on here. because that's what we're battling the most. So I was like, oh, it makes sense. The air pocket got in there. And so it was serving as a median. Because I was trying to figure out, I'm going to share this with y'all because it helps to put things in perspective. All right, the right side of our body, because that's where Jesus is, on the right hand of God, right? It's going to heal first. Okay? It's going to start. God works on the entire body, but the right side is going to detox a little faster, if you will. And so the reason there might be an air pocket in there, if you find yourself belching and the other way, it's a normal part of the detox process, y'all. Okay? Just you be in your own privacy, right? Okay. And there's nothing to be embarrassed about with those functions because it's a natural part of the body getting rid of not only excessive heat, that's another way that the body does it. Okay, when you think about the flatulence, right, it's kind of hot sometimes. Okay, well, the body's got to get that out. And so if you are belching a little bit more, don't panic. It's a part of the process. It just lets you know there's a bit of an air pocket in there that's working its way out. Note how I said out, because when an air pocket is there, it acts as a median, like what you see in between two sides of a highway, right? And traffic keeps circulating this way on one side, traffic circulating the other way on the other side. And so that's what that air pocket is doing. Okay, we're keeping the circulation on both sides of the body divided when they're supposed to be working in tandem together, simultaneously, circulation, right, on both sides for balance. But see, when you are aware, you still are able to maintain balance, even though the circulation has been divided by an air pocket. So once it works its way out, that's right, it'll work its way out, and you won't be belching and stuff as much, okay? Of course, now, if you drink a carbonated beverage, okay, go figure. But I'm just saying through the detox, okay? As you're becoming more aware of the autonomic nervous system and how it's functioning and where. And so I had to ask why I'm standing over there prepping for the soup and stuff and making lunch and all of that. I'm standing there, but the convection oven / microwave is right here. And so God reminded me, I was like, okay, why is that trying to do that? Hold up a second, because we're aware. So we're getting it unprogrammed, right? Unconditioned, because I was like, look, there's no staples there anymore. But the autonomic nervous system didn't know that, because while there were staples there, anytime I used the microwave or the oven, my head was right there, right? So the nervous system detected a threat because of a little bit of electrocution, if you will. Welcome. Yes, hello. Hello. Right. Mm-hmm. Okay. This evening in the kitchen making the soup. It's worn off a bit now. But, oh, good. Okay, see, that's gonna happen. Okay, so thank you for sharing that. It was I know what you're talking about. It's a slight dizzy spell. It's very, very, yeah, I know. Okay, it's all part of the body detoxing of the excess heat. So whenever you experience that, it's the best thing to do. This is what I did. Stop for a minute. Stop for a second. Okay, take some deep breaths. Because okay, that's just part of the process. Okay. And then a little bit of a hallucination. I heard, right, there were some sounds that went off today for me as well that are not real. So you're not alone. All right. Y'all are not alone on this detox journey, I tell you. Yes. relaxation does aid awareness, a higher awareness. Absolutely. Absolutely. Right. So thank you for bringing that up. Okay. Because that's part of the process. Because you got to remember something. All that salt that we were taking in, was just holding in body heat, unnecessary heat inside the body because of the metals and other toxins that the radio frequency got in there. So, yes, just just be mindful. Okay, stay aware of your surroundings. Okay, chosen ones are strong spiritually, anyhow. So you'll know between you and the Godhead, you'll know. And I understand, but luckily, you were in your own home, your own place. Okay, so if you experience that, that's what I'm saying. This detox from radio frequency poisoning is not for the faint at heart, because I'm telling you that it's tough. All right, we got to be tough and let the natural occur as it's going to. Yeah, we can't force what's going to happen naturally. Remember that. Very, very important. Okay. But so the autonomic nervous system was associating me being in that location, perceiving the microwave / oven as a threat, which it used to be, because when it would go off, it would set off it would send a little electrical shock through the titanium staples that were there. So I am having to tell the autonomic nervous system that there's no staples there anymore. They fell out a while ago. There's no more, but it don't know that. So we have to, it's part of, purging that subconscious and through repetition. Okay, so we do play a role now, becoming aware of the autonomic nervous system. We're talking to it, and it's just over time, it's just going to have to learn to unlearn certain responses, because there's no threat anymore. And so God reminded me, I said, okay, it's just more noticeable this go round. And he said, yeah, because of the heightened awareness. Whereas the first go round of detoxing from RF poisoning, I was not aware of the autonomic nervous system yet. So at that time, it did its natural thing. It probably was responding to certain stimuli a certain way, but I was not aware of it at that time. But over time, naturally, it unlearned it. Apparently, it had to have, because I was aware, becoming more aware. And so now we are all becoming more aware. After all, it's not consulting for heightened awareness for no reason, right? Okay, there you go. And so I wanted to get on and share that with you all, because it's very important as we're paying attention to how the body is responding for healthier living also. Because when you're relaxed, proper circulation can take place, and the body will get the nutrients, oxygen, things that it needs. Yes, your body will get the oxygen and nutrient and all the things that it needs as your circulation is functioning as it should. See, the enemy does not want people's circulation to function normally, because he knows that as long as our bodies are getting the nutrition and the oxygen that we need, that we will be living healthier, and that we won't be relying on the merry-go-round that will never, ever, ever find a cure, nor does it want to, because Jesus is the only cure. So all it wants to do is keep people out there chasing their tail, getting test after test after test, trying to figure out, what's going on? I don't know what's wrong. What's going on here? It's radio frequency poisoning. That's what it is. So once you know that, And you say, okay. So I want y'all to remember that. Yes. CHAND. That's right. And I know I've got some more comments to get to over here. But yeah, the more aware we become. Okay. There you go. That's a really good way to put it. Yes, it says the body can act as a capacitor to store and release bioelectricity. Absolutely. Yep. And there you go. And I'm going to get to the connection to the PC here in just a moment. I want to get all of that to you all for. There you go. Temporarily stored electrical energy through distributing charged particles on, and it's generally two plates to create a potential difference. Like, take a shorter time than a battery to charge, and it can release all the energy very quickly. Okay, thank you for sharing that. Okay. Yes, I know. I see the gnat. The enemy trying to be stupid. Okay. And then the car engine. Exactly. That's a good analogy too for how our bodies get rid of that excess heat, and then for the belching and the other stuff. Absolutely. It had to get rid of it somehow, right? So I wanted to make sure I got all caught up. Right. How many years have they been doing the research and all the money? See? There you go. There you go. That's another reason why the enemy does not want people getting the heightened awareness. He doesn't want people to understand the intimacy between your autonomic nervous system, your thoughts, okay? Because the autonomic nervous system operating in the subconscious, right? So think of the subconscious as the background, right? It's the program that runs in the background, just like a computer has programs that can run in the background, okay? And your nervous systems are the circuit boards inside the computer. So what happens when we do certain things, right? We have function buttons up here, right? Okay. So similar concept with radio frequency. It has the certain ranges in the low and the high that the autonomic nervous system will respond to a certain way. It's been conditioned to respond that way through external stimuli. But it also responds, it will also relive a physical trauma through our thoughts. So for those of you who have heard about the Jezebel case study, what my autonomic nervous system has done is perceived anything, right, that is a bra. Come on, we're grown adults here, because that's what she did. She tightened it as tight as she could before. Anyhow, because that was exactly, right, to prevent proper circulation and some other things, all right? But solely for the autonomic nervous system, because God revealed this to me recently, okay? Because I had to ask, wait a second. I'm long past that. We've been healed from that for quite some time. So why is it acting like that? And God told me, he said, well, it's reliving the physical trauma to that area, because I did a brief reassessment recap in my thoughts. I went, oh, wow. So we really do play a big role in this stuff. See, that's just another way the enemy tricks us into potentially engaging in self-sabotage, you see? Because being unaware, right? If we were still unaware of the autonomic nervous system, then it could easily trick us into going, oh crap, now I gotta go. No, you don't. God said stop. Because it could, but we're too aware. Because when it did that, I went, wait a second. And that's what God revealed to me. It's like, you did it with your thoughts. So then this morning, as we're working out more of that, like, okay, how does this work now? And we know that our thoughts are spiritual power. Okay, and so it's like, all right, so the autonomic nervous system working in the background, right, in the subconscious. Yep, it's that program running in the background with our thoughts that form where? In the subconscious. See, this is how the enemy does it too, with all those subliminal messages to get people to accept the Israel mindset. Think about the repetition, right? Well, that's what it takes to program the autonomic nervous system. So as I was bouncing back and forth between hotel, the autonomic nervous system, because there was metal up here, and then along with the other radio frequency poisoning molecule, okay, up there, because at the point of injury, right, there's a big bruise under there I don't know about yet. All right. And so with that being said, right, there were other metal molecules just hanging out. They couldn't get into circulation yet because the inside temperature of the body is too hot. So that led to some swelling of certain areas of the body that had me, in the beginning, perceiving my thoughts, certain things that I had yet to discover about the autonomic nervous system. So, because I was perceiving myself as being more top heavy than I actually was, that programmed the autonomic nervous system to respond a certain way when I would lean in any direction, especially forward. The autonomic nervous system would respond a certain way. And when it did that earlier today, I said, hold up a second. Okay, now I understand how our thoughts play a role in programming the autonomic nervous system, because in the beginning, I had that misperception because of all the heat. So I wasn't able to see things clearly just yet. Although I'm aware, I know what's going on, but you got to remember, I was a little anemic too, so things like that. But so over just a few months' time, the autonomic nervous system got programmed to perceive my upper body as being heavier than it actually is. Because I was like, hold up. Because we are now 4.5 inches smaller. Yeah. So I was like, no, I said, we know better. So now I have to teach through the subconscious the autonomic nervous system to unlearn that false perception, because I never was anyhow, you see. So right, because 8 pounds is not really that much of a gain over a year's time, and that's all it was. But since we've done one better, and we are 10 plus down now. So there you go. So it's like, I know, oh, hold up. So I can feel it on the inside. This is why I tell y'all during the detox process, like I said yesterday and before that we got to remain focused on the internal, and don't let what you see on the external trick you, because of the fluctuations that are going to occur until you're able to, okay, now So when God says the results are in, you'll hear it. He'll tell you what to do. But we don't want to let the enemy trick us into misperceiving things. Here's another way for y'all. Okay, this will also help whoever is still trying to find their voice again. Another way that the body can release excess heat is through talking, right? Think about that for a second, because I can tell y'all that, yeah, even though I'm talking to God and myself, and we're working this stuff out, like, whoa, okay, that's a huge level up in the awareness. And so I'm like, okay, so yeah, I'm doing that, but I'm also thinking, like, all right, connecting more dots. And so here and there, because a little bit of fluctuation takes place, all right, then I get up here and I start talking more regularly to you all. And things start to function normally again because my body's getting rid of excess heat. So you got to think about that would be another reason why the enemy wants to silence people, especially chosen one, because we'll discover these things, these truths. These are God's spiritual and physical truths now. I mean, it was like, wow, because our thoughts play a role in controlling the autonomic nervous system. So it's a whole nother reason, and a big one too, to change that thinking and be extremely mindful what we're telling ourselves about ourselves, because the autonomic nervous system is going to take it. It's going to take it literally. Okay? I kid you not. So we have to change our life by changing our perception. Oh, big time, right? Yeah. So I had to think about, I still got to, because I've got to let God bring to my remembrance, okay, because it's part of the big purging of the subconscious. Because I was like, oh, man, yeah, because during the beginning, I had a false perception. And so I'm thinking, so the autonomic nervous system picked up on that. Because, like I said earlier today, getting into the refrigerator, and I was like, whoa, why is it acting like that? Oh, I see. Wait, because it's perceiving this just, because I did. So I know, it's like, oh, okay, yeah. And so I know there's going to be some who wonder, well, how is it that the thoughts can control the autonomic nervous system? Well, think about this. The enemy knows that spiritual truth. Why do you think he got to try to keep as many asleep as he possibly can to not know this about their own autonomic nervous system and how they spiritually control it with their thoughts? Think about it. How the autonomic nervous system is anticipatory, right? It is anticipatory towards what it perceives as a threat biologically. And yeah, electrocution, any kind of it, obviously is a threat, right, to the nervous system. So it's going to respond naturally as it's going, the way that it knows. Think about how the evildoers, and even we did for certain things until we learned to stop doing them, right? Expecting the worst, right, out of something or someone, expecting the worst around, looking for the worst around the corner, right? Okay, well, the narcissists do that all the time. They're always expecting the worst. That is a human psychological response to the autonomic nervous system anticipatory nature. There's a connection. The concept's the same. Because all I'm doing is walking over to the kitchen sink, and it's already acting as though the threat is there when it's not anymore. It's perceived threat, right? Well, not so much anymore, y'all. It's lessening. Okay, it does. It's one day at a time. It lessens that. So we find things that we can do to mitigate and to help it unlearn that. For example, don't turn on that LED light and let this thing unlearn that perception of a threat. Because it's not a threat anymore because there's no metal in the head, but it has to, yeah, and I gotta let it happen naturally. So that's just a tip for whoever may need that one. That's how we figure out how to get around that resistance, because God told me once we discovered that we were still contributing to the cooking of our own head. Okay, once we learned that we were still contributing to it, I said, oh, well, we can knock that off for a bit so that this thing can level back out and unlearn that perception of a threat, because it's not a threat anymore. See, that's the thing. But it don't know that. You see, because it doesn't know that. So I have to purge the subconscious, but I've got to be in repetition. This is how we will do this. In repetition. The staples are not there anymore. The staples are not there anymore. The staples are, I'm serious. Just throughout the day, stuff which I have to, and I'm going to tell you, it works. Because when I finally was able to get done with what I had to do over there and get in there and get ready to get up here, okay? Right. I had already been telling the subconscious, hey, they're not there anymore. They're not there anymore. So a certain response that the autonomic nervous system got conditioned to engaging in, to a perceived motion, it didn't occur. For that one, it did not occur. So I just have to keep doing that. So I want y'all to know that you know your surroundings, right? So think about, if you have an autonomic response to something, I want you to assess your environment. Okay? It could be, again, just the anticipation thereof, you entering a certain area that once did pose as a threat. So just take an assessment of the environment, and then also make note, was there any frequencies, low or high, associated? Okay? So that's what you do. And as you do that, you will be able to pinpoint where the stimuli came from, or whether it's just anticipating. So, for example, like, I'll have that light on, right? It never perceived these as a threat because they're not directly above, right? The only reason the autonomic nervous system perceived that one as a threat because it's directly above and there used to be metal staples here. Okay? That's the only reason. So those aren't there anymore. Turn that on. Talk to it. Talking to that autonomic nervous system. Knock it off. There ain't nothing to be afraid of no more. You know, the autonomic nervous system just doing what it was programmed to do based on the biological threat to the nerve. Absolutely. So again, electrocution is a threat to the nervous system. So your autonomic nervous system responding accordingly. You become aware of that, then you can work through that subconscious. Okay, so one more time, recap. Okay, your subconscious mind. See, when God awakens us to that narcissism, he awakened the subconscious mind. So there isn't going to be anything that the enemy can do that's going to put us back to sleep. The subconscious is not going to go back to sleep now. It's not going to happen. Can't. Because God needs us to get this kind of awareness. For healthier living. Come on now. This body, the temple for the Holy Spirit, right? Okay, so there you go. And we want to take better care of it. In order to do that, right, we've got to detox from radio frequency poisoning. And it's all part of the process. So during that, we're like, okay, all right, so God will reveal this thing about our body, that thing about our body. Oh, we didn't know that was there. So it's a pretty cool journey, but it's definitely deep. All right, so your subconscious mind, right? That's where the thoughts are formed. That's where your soul and heart resides too. But that's where your thoughts are formed. Okay? In the subconscious mind. And the autonomic nervous system operates through the subconscious in the background. Just like a program that runs in the background on a PC. Right? And so, right, our subconscious, when it's not awakened yet, we don't know these things. We don't know that the autonomic nervous system is running in the background. We don't know that. All we know is that we got tensed up or we cringed but that wasn't really us. That was our autonomic nervous system responding. We're like, oh, but we're not aware of that yet until God awakens the subconscious mind and we start getting that heightened awareness. Not just about things in the spiritual, but now in the physical too. Because the process to get rid of toxins and things like that is a process. And so in order to do that, our body's autonomic nervous system needs to be relaxed. Okay? It needs to be relaxed. It needs to stop responding to perceived threats that are not there anymore. So it takes time, but it does that. It's running in the background until we become aware of it. And so now it's still running in the background, but we catch things when it's trying to respond certain way to certain things. Okay? And so just know that it's gonna, it will dissipate, y'all. It will lessen and lessen, because I'm here to tell you, it already is. Over the last 3 days, pretty much, I'm noticing it responding to what it was perceiving as a threat less and less, because it's starting to, because I'm like, hey, there's no battery operated grooming tool here. This is just a little brush and some brown makeup, because it tried, but as soon as I touched and started moving, it's noticing that, oh, okay, there's no, okay. it has to start recognizing that there's no more threat, there's no more electrocution coming. Okay, it has to recognize that, and it will do it on its own as well. But we can help it along now that we know our thoughts control that autonomic nervous system. So we're able to, I'm telling you, that's another reason why God says we got to be transformed by the renewing of the mind. And he ain't kidding. Right? Oh, man. Talk about a whole level of awareness of this autonomic nervous system. And now we get a much clearer understanding as to why the enemy targets it even harder. I mean, now I get it. We get it. We're getting it. We're like, it makes sense, because it gives the enemy the illusion of control and power over our bodies. Yeah, because our thoughts, like I shared with y'all earlier, that, because I was doing a quick assessment. I do that when I do an analysis every once in a while to make sure that I have not left a stone, what I'm talking about. Like, I want to make sure, I want to say this right. I want to make sure I haven't left any stone unturned, okay? I want to make sure there's no more dots to connect lingering out there, right, with the case study. So as I was doing that, my autonomic nervous system in a certain spot was reliving a little bit of physical trauma based on the thought of that particular action by the Jezebel. And it further explained why early on, any bra that I would put on, the autonomic nervous system perceived that as a threat. Now I understand why. And so it purged that subconscious. So, yep. Our poor brain in there getting overheated. That's one way to put it. I know. Reminds me of the commercial where they used to try to, fry the egg, and it would tell us that the egg is your brain, and then put the egg in a pan that starts to fry, and it says this is your brain on drugs. Well, that's your brain on radio frequency poisoning. Yep, you got to talk. Yes, we can. Yep, talk to the subconscious and Actually, whenever God steps in, God's the one that tells us we're okay. Everything will be okay. Everything's okay. That's God. Because I'm telling y'all, before I went through the first round of detox from the ex-psycho with the radio frequency, that's all God kept telling me the whole time that I was packing and doing and things like that. Like, you're going to be okay. 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 All right? And so we know that. And so, right, there you go. The autonomic nervous system, needs to disassociate a certain movement, and also a certain area that used to pose as a threat, because it's not actually, it doesn't know whether it's actually happening yet. That's a good way to put it. It's just acting off of memory. Our muscles have memory, right? We have muscle memory. This is why those of us who work out, we learn that we don't need to stress about if we got to take a month or so and we're not working out as often as we'd like to. We don't fret about that, because we know that once we get back into it, our muscle have a memory. And so they will eventually pick right back up where we left off. Possible to put a transcript or similar from this podcast episode. Working out the relationship and the process of our autonomic nervous system to thoughts and the body's bioelectrical system. The running in the background stuff. The demons want to play on our thoughts and use our thoughts against us. Absolutely. Okay, brilliant analysis. There you go. That's a good word too, because it does. The autonomic nervous system has to disassociate a certain action, movement, place inside, wherever it is you are, that it used to detect as a threat at, you know what I'm saying? But the threat's not there anymore, because in my case, there's no mental staple, so there's no more threat. But the autonomic nervous system has to learn. So it will. So like Chris said, we talk to that subconscious. Get it in there that, hey, And so I even find myself, if I feel a particular muscle in the back here trying to act stupid, I'm like, knock it off. Knock it off. Right? And then I also noticed that, Jesus intercedes for us as well. And that's a lot of how he does it. But you got to remember something. You'd be like, well, how come we can't just do it all at once? No. Because just like the conditioning, is slow and subtle over time, Right? Even if God hastens the healing on his time, the healing is always going to be quicker than the conditioning. Yes. But it's not going to unlearn all of that at once because there's a lot that goes into it. Very, very small details, right? There's so many things that go into it that the autonomic nervous system is responding to. So like it has to stop associating this movement, right? It's starting to do that now. It's starting to recognize, oh, there's no threat to this movement anymore. While at the same time, it had to stop anticipating a threat as I walk up to the bathroom counter. The LED lights, right? So there's a lot of little things going on there. And yeah, there's a lot. There's more than that, but I'm just giving y'all a little snapshot here so you understand better why. Oh, okay, if you make this certain movement and the autonomic nervous system associate that with what used to be an actual threat but isn't anymore, it's got to unlearn that. So it does take a little time, but it will happen quicker because you become aware of it. That's why. And God, of course, first and foremost, God hastens things on his time. I want y'all to understand something. Anytime the enemy tries to take out a chosen one, God bounces them back even quicker every single time. Every single time. God bounces us back even faster. I want y'all to put that in comments below. God bounces us back even faster. Yes, God bounces us back even faster. So anytime the enemy would try something, and we start to catch on, oh, right? Yeah, no weapon formed against thee shall prosper. And so we are going to bounce back. Chosen one always bounce back, and we bounce back faster. God levels us up quicker. So no matter what the enemy tries to do to God's chosen one, Psalm 105:15, touch not my anointed and do my prophets no harm. That's what you got to remind yourself of. That's why you're still here. That's why you're still standing. Okay, his name is Jesus. God's got work for you to do. Yes, that's right. There you go. God bounces us back even faster. Yes. Okay. So we got to learn to give our autonomic nervous system space and time to recover and to heal. See, part of that autonomic nervous system healing is unlearning and disassociating certain things that it perceived that to go with this as a threat. So whatever it perceived as a threat, it has to unlearn it. And so we find ways to help it do that. Okay, absolutely. Again, like talking to it, repetition. Everything about repetition, right? Because that's how things get in that subconscious. It's through repetition. The enemy knows that. So, yeah. Because we realize, okay, that the underlying cause for a lot of stuff out here is radio frequency poisoning. And so we got to detox. And then we learn how to limit our exposure where possible. But I want y'all to know something. That if you are, well, there's going to come a day where, yes, I can turn that light back on when the bruise is gone. Okay, I want y'all to understand that bruising acts as a plug for normal circulation, right? It's a hindrance. Bruising acts as a plug. And what do we know will hang out with those bruises? Exactly, metal molecules from the radio frequency poisoning. And so you start to notice wherever there's a bruise, You'll feel the heat. Might not feel it in the beginning if you have a bruise. I pray that y'all don't. But if you do notice one, over time, as your body starts to re-regulate its own temperature, if let's say you've got a bruise that you can read, that you can see, and you put your hand there, and you'll feel the heat coming off that bruise. I was like, ooh, I never noticed that before. But it makes sense because the salt heats that metal molecule for it to expand, right? It's like, yeah, that's part of the bruising that takes place during impact. So there you go. And I just wanted to get up here and give that to y'all about the autonomic nervous system some more because, man, I was like, wow, that's a huge level up in the awareness factor right there at being aware that our own thoughts control that autonomic nervous system. And it just further explained why the enemy wants control of our thoughts. Sure does, boy, I tell you. Not only because our thoughts are spiritual power, but if he can get in there and control our thoughts, he gets that illusion of control over our autonomic nervous system. Yeah. And that is what happens to the narcissist, is that the enemy gets in there and gets control of their thoughts because, remember, they internalize all of those negative emotions, which are the demon spirits, right? So they internalize them, making them their own, which gives the enemy control of their thoughts. So they continue to think all negative things, right? Yeah. So they will tell themselves negative things about themselves. And so as they do that, they feel a ping or a pang. And because radio frequency poisoning it can, not for the chosen one, but it can lower a person's tolerance for pain. That's in that article as well. And so chosen one, it won't work on us. Chosen one develop a high tolerance for that because exactly, we're not going to perceive things as bigger than they really are. Now, mind you, again, discernment, it depends on the severity, okay, of an injury, obviously. So we always ask God first what to do. So when he revealed to me that the radio frequency poisoning is the cause for a lot of stuff, I was like, wow. Yeah, exactly. And that's all part of unlearning worldly garbage. So I was like, okay, so little things like calcium buildup on certain parts of the body, not a calcium buildup. That is a pocket with a metal molecule. Ice pack to shrink that sucker, get it back into circulation so we can get it out of the body. So yeah, I'm talking about this right here. Okay? Yeah, they're trying to convince me that that was just a calcium buildup. And I said, that doesn't make sense. Because I got a good look at it. And I see what the color of the stuff is on the inside. I said, oh, there's a metal molecule in there. And it stems from a small injury of a slash right here. The ex-psycho roommate. Over time. Because that was supposed to act as a magnet for. Exactly. But on its own, by itself, Can't do anything. It needed some helpers in the head for it to be effective. And so God said, aha. So now with the ice packing, right? And it's going to eventually over time, it's going to shrink and exit as it should. But I went to a specialist for that to have it looked at. And they wanted to charge me $1,200, but it might come back. Really? Well, if that's the case, I think I'll pass on that. Yep. So now I know what it is. And we've just got to get that mucus pocket shrunk. And the metamolecule shrunk enough to where it can get out of the body. So if any of y'all have experienced anything like that somewhere on your body and it's been there for a while, if you are able to take a close inspection, and you will be able to see underneath what the color of the gunk is inside that little pocket. And you'll know, ice pack. Over time, it will shrink and go away. It has to. It doesn't belong there. Remember, the body's going to find a way at some point. Absolutely. To get out of the body what doesn't belong in it. God made our body so strategically like that. And I'm glad that this Truth Seeker podcast is helping you all. And thank you. And I knew it was going to be fantastic because the topic is just so woo. Yeah, it's going to take a while to process. So as for a transcript, oh boy. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up then because I can, but you know what? Hang tight because you're going to hear about this again. Okay, you're going to hear about all of this again. What we're doing here is we're just bringing it to your attention because we're not done analyzing it because I have something for the Academy on this as well. Okay, I've got something for it. So we're putting it together and I want y'all to so hang tight because you'll have PDF downloads to go with. Okay, so just hang tight. I'm not going to, we're not future faking, but I'm letting y'all know we are working on something for you all about this with the autonomic nervous system and its conditioning. Okay, there's a lot more to unpack. There's a lot more that goes into it, especially with the spiritual. Okay, so thank you for your patience, your understanding, and yes. Okay. You don't want to give me too much work. I appreciate that. But yeah, you can always, I highly encourage y'all. If you need to rewatch, like for the information to take notes and things like that, I highly encourage you to do so. Absolutely. Okay, everyone. There you go. Yes, you can. Absolutely. But we're gonna have some. There's more coming. I'm telling y'all, there's more coming. This is just the beginning. This is just the beginning. All right, everyone. So there you go. If you have additional questions on the replay, don't hesitate to reach out. We're on this journey together, fellow warriors. Oh yeah, chosen ones, fellow spiritual warriors for Christ. Remember, Consulting for Heightened Awareness is a growing community of spiritual warriors for Christ. That's right. All right, everybody, that's it for today. We're going to leave it there and see what else God reveals going forward. Oh, glory be to God. It's exciting because you know it's going to be good and you know it's going to be true. That's the beauty also of being in God's reality because you know it's going to be good and you know it's going to be truth. And as God's truth seekers, that's what we want is the truth because we're worshiping God both in truth and in spirit. I am Michelle Dickey, your host for CHA's Truth Seeker podcast, streaming on the YouTube channel Narcissism and Cognitive Dissonance, where trauma healing and spiritual growth are front and center while combating radio frequency poisoning for healthier living. That's right, trauma healing and spiritual growth occur with God's wisdom, basic scientific facts, tried and true techniques, and more. Here and at CHAAcademyBTBW.com. The link to the Academy is in the video description below. Some of you may need to copy and paste the link to view what CHAAcademyBTBW.com offers to help you level up your trauma healing and spiritual growth. Sending love and light to all fellow warriors. Thank you for watching, listening, and for your support. Till next time, let's show some gratitude to the Heavenly Father, and you keep being you. In Jesus' name, amen.